Hola. So there's a soul and there's a spirit, and I feel like spirit is more an energy thing. Like when someone is high spirited, it kind of just is an inflection of their energy being at a higher rate of expression. Whereas I feel like a soul has more to do with our mortality and our relationship to our own existence, and that weird intangible dissonance and connection to being human. You almost feel disconnected and connected, but I feel like the awareness of those two things is extremely important instead of ignoring both and just kind of almost existing as though you were just like a sim that has no consciousness, no understanding of its own relationship to the world. So humans die, and I feel like that's why having, certain things that help you focus on your soul, to say, which is basically your relationship to mortality with everyone else and your current existence. And that's how I would define it. How you would define it, that's up to you. And if you don't want to define it like that, you can, not listen to me. That's okay. That's okay. But this is how I kind of relate to it, because words mean different things for different people. Subjectivity is in every single human. And of course, the definition of a word is the definition of a word because the dictionary said so. Yeah, sure. But if you get where I'm coming from, and I don't sound like I'm speaking absolute gibberish, I I'm not gonna be like in the mindset of this current generation is so disconnected from their souls because of social media and AI and individualism and the systems we live under not prioritizing. As much as individualism sounds like something that would expand your identity because you're an individual, and it actually takes away from it. You end up almost behaving as though you're a mannequin rather than a mirror. And let me explain that. I think every single human should behave as though they are a mirror, because we are a reflection of each other and our reaction. Well, to explain that, I would say if I'm interacting with someone and they have beliefs that I agree with, they are a reflection of me and my beliefs, but I am also a reflection of them and their beliefs, if you get what I'm saying. Like the reflection keeps on expanding because it is congruent, not incongruent. Whereas even when it's incongruent, that still speaks to a knowledge of my own soul. You're reflecting an aspect of your soul that doesn't align with my own. But I need to first see you as a mirror. I first need to look into you to see more of myself interacting with you. Why do I react the way I do? Why do I behave the way I do? Why do I relate to you the way I do? And people who behave more like mannequins almost, I think, have it in their heads that they have an objective view on things, which none of us do. None of us do. All of us don't know what's going on, and I think we should be more honest about that. That we're trying to figure it out, but losing that and presuming that we know what's going on here is also kind of presuming that yeah, we know what's going to happen once we're dead, which we don't. Which again, the soul. When we have souls and that uncertainty is expressed through these souls, I feel we become closer, but also in certain ways, we express that isolation and fear of mortality so much more honestly, and it becomes so much more easier to connect with people. But it's an expansion of many things. It's it's really difficult to explain, but I feel like many people don't actually even bother to explain it. And I don't think you can explain it through words, but I think analyzing it for yourself on a personal level, because I would initially, when I was much younger, I assumed that journaling was the way to connect to my soul. But that was more connection with my mind and soul. And I feel like my mind and soul, just like many other aspects of me, because as a person, I have so many facets to me. I have a body. I have a body that relates to me in certain ways. I have an identity. I have a body that has a certain skin tone, a certain gender and sex, and all these things and all these components. And the more I analyze them, the better I become at knowing myself. I think assuming that you know everything about yourself is why so many people disregard their own souls and spirits and souls, spirits. I use them interchangeably, but I know I gave the distinctor of like, but we forget to investigate almost ourselves, interrogate ourselves on like, what do I actually how does it make me feel? Why does it make me feel this way? What does it say about me? And what do I gravitate towards, and what do I repel from, and why? Like, that investigation kind of goes away when you feel like you have the objective answer to something, and no one does. No one does. And I mean, we've gone on the assumption a lot of times that we do. And I think in this age, it is much easier to assume you do because of, and I'm not saying this never happened in the past, I think many mannequins have existed throughout time. That's what I'm choosing to call people who don't soul search, you know, who don't know how to use their soul. It's not even soul searching, it's just like using your soul, you know, expressing what you would like to live for in these mortal moments, you know, that relation to dying. I don't see it as morbid. I think it's inevitable. No one can die in your place, you know. You will die irrespective, and that's okay. That's fine. I'll join you, buddy. We'll be there. Bestie. We'll be there. So rather than running away from it, I want to interrogate it. I want to look at the thing I used to fear. I feel like my body will always fear death, and certain aspects of me will always fear death, and I can never get rid of that. But consciously, I will always be looking at death in fascination, in morbid fascination, because so much of life is rooted in death. So much of living is rooted in dying. You know, so many things that we value is because like they have a, you know, time limit. Like nothing will last forever. And when people look at these immortal beings, I think they want some of that immortality, you know, through religion. Because many people might be like, well, I'm an atheist, so this whole soul spirit wu shit doesn't work on me. And I'm like, well, you're a human, and this whole spirit, soul, wu shit isn't always about religion. Religion is more about that omnipotent creator that, you know, in some way has a narrative for all of us and a direction for all of us. Whereas souls and spirits don't really fall under that, but is used to communicate more of. Some people relate it to that God presence, whereas other people just see it as a completely separate thing that's just existing in the species of human. Like we just have souls. Like you can't really explain it. You can only like see it and, you know, feel it. It's not really something you can write down and say yes, because everyone's soul has a different expression. It's unique. It's strange. So when we come up with these kind of like rules for souls and spirits and expressions and how people can be and should be and how they should define people, I think we don't investigate. We just, you know, say that this is the answer, black or white, and that's never been helpful for me. And I feel like anyone listening to this, I want you to investigate your soul just a bit more. Learn how to use it a bit more, you know? As I've grown older, I've realized that my soul is in use through creation. Maybe not everyone's soul's like that. Through creation of art, but also through cleaning. Cleaning's a weird one. It's become more a healing practice for my soul, because my soul still resides within my body, which is a part of the environment. So to expand that aspect of myself, I take care of things. I, you know, give them the love I would love surrounding me. I would like to surround me. The love I'd like to love. Anyway, and relating to things in this way has made life so much more fulfilling. You know, it also fills you up. It doesn't leave you empty, because the mannequin archetype character that I've created kind of seems unfulfilled. Kind of seems like they're just drifting apart and it's like given something and they just take it. You know, people pleaser style. You tell me something, I'll agree with you. So I don't have to like think about it, you know. And it's not an actual agreement. I'll just say I agree with you, you know. I'll make you feel like I agree with you. And that shallow aspect of things has, you know, gotten to me a couple of times, but I've realized it's because I want deep soul connections with people, and if I can't have that, I'd rather have none of it. You know, I'll greet you, we'll be friends, but I'll never go into like what my soul looks like, and I'll never show you because you've never shown me your soul. Souls have a certain level of like vulnerability to show, you know, like prayers that are private make so much sense to me. It's like this is a thing that is very intimate with you. Your soul is not always gonna like match up with anyone else's expression of their soul. So when you do share your soul with someone else and your, you know, way of dealing with your mortality with someone else, that's very like intimate and, you know, has something to do that's beyond your physical. Because the mind and the soul thing are not necessarily the most physical thing, but you know, they still show up in certain ways within humans. So I feel like that fixating on aspects and components of yourself, that, you know, it's not just one thing, a mannequin that's just made of, I don't know, plastic. Yeah, a mannequin made of plastic. That's perfect. But that you're made of flesh and bones and complex ideas and thoughts and you're mortal and it's all these things. And I'm like, I can see why so many people get overwhelmed by their lives and kind of freak out, but look at it, really investigate it, really look into it because I've been finding life so much more interesting. Like, if anything, it's made me a bit more hesitant towards death. Not that I was running towards it in the first place, but I'm like, wait, let me investigate just a bit longer. There's just so much to figure out. And that has become kind of the pursuit of my life. So it's just like, how can I expand my soul? How can I, better my expression of my spirit? And all these other things have been such a fun, endeavor to go through. I just can't live like a mannequin and just take in your black and white answers. I will always ask for a more nuanced take. I know that makes me a more progressive, um, some might even say an anarchist, but I find these words because I investigate and I try and relate myself to parts of the world and experiences, and it'll always be expanding or always not neatly fit into a box, and I don't want it to. I don't want it to necessarily even make that much sense. I just want to experience knowing myself further. I know I'll never know the full picture, but can I get at least a good chunk of it, Can I know a good chunk of that picture? Because not knowing much about yourself throughout your life seems like a devastating way to live life. Even if you're affluent and you have all the money, what's the use if you barely know yourself? Like, you could have given that money to anyone, literally. You're just a mannequin, again. So, I'm not here to shame. I'm just saying everyone investigate your souls and spirits a bit more. And I could go more in depth, but I feel like I've been yapping. And I had to retake this, so off the dome, off the cuff. Hope you enjoyed. Even if it's 1 or 0 people, I enjoyed. I enjoyed filming it. So, yeah, let me know if you have a soul.